Personnel Finance meeting together for October 9th. Starting the meeting at 10 o'clock. First up, I need approval of the agenda. We have a motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Passes unanimously. Move up to item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? Apparently we have no public. We'll move on to item 4. 4A, would be the minutes from the September 11th meeting. Unless there's changes, I need a motion and support to approve them as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed the same. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Okay, next up would be item 4B, Department on Aging, a position change request. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The request is to upgrade a grade 3 AFSCME union cook position to a grade 6 the next time there's a full-time cook opening. And this person would have responsibility for oversight and coordination of tasks of the rest of the cooking staff. It's something we don't have right now, and so when there's a question about food preparation for that day or any substitutions that might be needed, questions that come up, the cooks are going to the nutrition services manager, and it's when there's new cooks, it's quite frequent, and it's taking time away from her other duties, such as preparing menus, organizing other programs. The nutrition manager oversees nutrition site leaders. She hires Meals on Wheels drivers, as well as the staff who prepare the food. So by having, basically it's a lead cook is what the position is. It would make more efficient use of the level of the position of nutrition services manager, get her out of the kitchen, so to speak, to do other managerial tasks. And then the request includes that this change would happen once there's, I said that, full-time vacancy. So it's not promoting someone at this point, it's waiting until there's a vacancy.
Discussion? Questions? I have a question. If it's needed, why are we having to wait till the next position? Because to stay in budget?
Well, for example, if the current full-time stock person cook filled the new position, then we would be without a stock person cook.
Okay.
And we need that position, so that's why we're waiting until there's a vacancy.
So we will be adding a person?
No, we won't be. That's why.
I didn't think so.
Right, we're not.
Okay.
So when there's a vacancy, that's when the change will occur, and then the new position, grade 6, would be filled.
Okay.
And the revenue, we're providing more meals for the program for all-inclusive care for the elderly, Tomei Pace, on Springport Road, and we're getting more and more requests for those meals, so that's the additional revenue that will cover the cost.
Thank you. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, item 4C, the Youth Center. Welcome, Jeremy.
Good morning. My request is to approve BizStream or Youth Center as a resident management software system that we're wanting to go to, and also release some additional funds this year out of some above revenue bed rental space that we have, to be able to initiate that earlier than the initial budget for 2018.
Okay. Board, it's your pleasure. Questions? Daniel.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm just curious, with this new system that you have in place, I came out for a visit, and there were some questions that I had about recidivism in the youth center, and you didn't really have any data on that.
Right.
Is this something that is going to fix that? How is this going to integrate with the current system that you have and the current data you do have?
Well, thankfully, this system would be able to replace the current data system that we currently have, because it is not a robust system as what this is. I can't say specifically that this would solve that or create that question for you or answer for you, but I know that the background of the database and the information we're able to pull is far more robust, and we're able to get a lot more data out than what we currently have with our system. I would imagine that is something, because I know, as we talked, other facilities, that's good information to have. Other facilities, as you see in here, are using this, and in conversations with them, they indicate and are able to give those percentages out. I'm assuming that they get it out of this program. I haven't asked specifically that question as we looked at this software.
Commissioner Elwell?
Jeremy, you've addressed bed rental in the proposal and anticipation of what you're going to do by year end. That doesn't in any way negatively impact being able to house local residents, correct?
Correct. I've committed to you in the past that Jackson County residents will always be priority, and we will never kick out a Jackson County resident or not accept a Jackson County resident due to an out-of-county resident. I would always commit to that out-of-county, that they need to come get that kid if we were at capacity or jeopardizing an in-county resident.
I would move the request.
Support? Support. Okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, the same. You have it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the
Appreciate
good
it.
work you're doing down there.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have item 4D, the IT department. Welcome, Don.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is a request to renew our endpoint protection software, sometimes known as antivirus. We've had this for a number of years, and this would allow us to renew our yearly subscription to the product.
Questions? Commissioner Elwell.
Don, I just noteworthy of mention, I think, is that this is off the MyDeal contract, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And we've had it for how long now?
We had it for 2 years. This will be our third year.
In addition to the MyDeal price, are you confident it's the best software out there for us?
Yes. Since I came here, I've been doing bang-for-the-buck evaluations of all the technologies and made some evaluations based on cost, technology delivered, and quality and timeliness of the technology. As a result, I've come to you a number of times with requests for changes. One was with our website. We also have had a series of procurements that relate to our network gear. We were able to save the county about $200,000 by re-architecting the network, and thus we're able to keep our new network gear replacement in our current budget without having to request additional funds. With regard to the antivirus, there are a number of independent authorities that evaluate products. One of the most widely known is the Gartner Group, and Sophos is considered to be one of the better products, and on a price per dollar, it comes out very, very good. As an example, when we first got this, we were using another vendor's product. As part of the review of that product, we found that the timeliness of the updates to the product was not acceptable, leaving the county at risk for infection by various types of malware that could have catastrophic events. We then looked at price point, and Sophos offered us a 2-year subscription at that time for less than the previous vendor had charged us for 1 year.
Any further questions? I don't need a motion and support. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Next up, we have item 4E, facilities. Welcome, Rick. Welcome, Rusty.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. In front of you, you have a request to replace an air handler unit at the youth center. I have Rusty here to answer questions and get him used to presenting.
By the looks of your request today, maybe we ought to be buying stock in HVAC. Any questions? Commissioner
Rick, how
Elwell.
old is the equipment that's there?
23 years, I believe, 96.
21. Got 21 listed.
Yeah.
And that's a typical life cycle for something like that?
For that application, yes.
Okay.
But not for other applications. No, it's just like at Channer, where those units didn't last near that long. It's just different applications.
Any further questions, discussion? Not, we need a motion and support.
I'll move the request.
We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. We'll move down to 4F.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
In front of you, you have a request for the animal shelter, cat habitat, air conditioning unit, and some electrical work.
Questions? Discussion?
Was this something that was expected?
It was expected, Daniel. We had promised that we would do the HVAC portion of it. It was just the way that it came in. We needed to go with their original design as opposed to replacing with like.
Weren't we doing the HVAC before the CAT ever came into the play?
We were.
I thought we just combined the two. We were already going to do this.
Yeah, I noticed that it was budgeted. I just was curious if it was expected with that CAT addition.
Commissioner Shotwell.
Rick, there was talk of realigning the airflow systems within the larger cannon to exit through the roof versus exit out that back wall. Is that occurring with this project?
With this project, it's standalone for the cat room with 100% air exchange. After I completed a lot of research, I really believe, I know the better way to proceed is to look at the puppy room and the other part of the kennel, and in 2019 redo that HVAC system so it is bringing in 100% outside air and also is performing 6 to 10 air exchanges per hour. So
But again, are we going to exit through the roof or through the back wall?
I'll exit through the roof.
Okay, because I know that the question was noise suppression also. If we go out through the roof, then the dogs bark toward the sky instead of towards those houses back there.
Yeah, I think it would be better to actually have it up through the roof.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate all your hard work out there. I know that it can be contentious at times. I do thank you, and I do get compliments about your staff and the way facilities has handled the property.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yes,
Means a lot.
I had 2 people in on Saturday.
Any further discussion? If not, we need a motion and support. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Next up,
Next up, we have,
Chanter Road.
yes, sir. In front of you is a request to replace the HVAC units at the Channer Road Correctional Facility in the amount of $155,600.
Discussion? Commissioner Elwell?
Well, a comment first, I'm glad to see a local company was able to bid on it, and looks like has a low bid, but, so Rick, this is, what, 14 years old, the system that's there, and can you explain to us why that is in need of replacement already?
Sure, there's a couple different things with that, Dave. Number one, in a correctional facility the size of Chana Road, those units are running all the time, 24/7. It's a much, I don't want to say harder space to condition, but it's a challenging space because we do have the high ceilings there. We do have a large open space between the A barracks and the B barracks. And then secondly, one of the areas that we're addressing with this replacement is the units pretty much set on grade, meaning they're very close to the ground. This replacement, we're getting them up at least, correct me if I'm wrong, Rusty, 4 inches? To alleviate some of those issues. That's why we're replacing them now.
And then any idea why there's such a disparity in the two bids?
Yes, sir. Wood Mechanical would not come down, but they quoted it anyways, right?
Sorry, Wood Mechanical.
Wood Mechanical.
Did a walkthrough.
Oh, they did do a walkthrough.
They did do a walkthrough,
Okay.
yes.
I thought they were the ones who didn't come down.
No, they did the walkthrough.
Okay. Don't know why. But they're not local. No, Arctic Air. Aladdin provided the second lowest quote at $169,580, and then Wood was at $343,500. No problem, sir.
Any further questions, discussion? Need a motion then? We have motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Passes unanimously. We're on to 4H, Finance. We have some budget amendments to do. Welcome, Mr. Latham.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, we're asking your approval of budget amendments for the general fund. Basically, the major amendments on the revenue side is we anticipate receiving higher revenues for the transfer tax and also for recording revenue from the clerk's office and the Register of Deeds Department. However, there are programs and departments for which the revenue will not be received, so we're reducing those programs. On the expenditure side, we are adjusting a number of departments for differences in actual activity versus what we anticipated when we approved the budget.
Okay, any discussion? Questions for Jim? If not, I need a motion and support to send this to the full board. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Jim. Item 4I, your monthly financial statements.
For the monthly financial statements through August, our budget benchmark is 66.7, or 2/3 of the year. Our actual expenditure percent is 68.3. Based on our 3-year average, the historical percent is 68.1, so we're a little bit above that at this point in time. However, the August month is the month for which we record the third quarter transfers. On the revenue side, the trends are a little bit above our historical average at 46.7%. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, discussion? Commissioner Elwell?
Jim, I'd asked the administrator about one particular line item. I think he had emailed John, which was the school liaison program, and the revenue is fairly short on that, but you're confident by the end of the year that'll be up
Yes.
to speed?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner. And looking into that, there's only been one payment received, so either that's by semester, so they would have to bill
Good.
for this, the new school year, or starting in September.
And then the other note was, I think there was a program, I'm having a hard time finding it right now, but with a prosecutor that received no revenue on it, it had anticipated, I think, 100,000.
That's
And
correct.
that was one of them that's been changed, correct?
Yes, it is, Commissioner. We've
And
adjusted that.
for next year's budget, was that removed, or?
Yes, it was, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Go ahead, Mike.
Discontinue that?
I'm not sure that the prosecutor's discontinued it, but it's something that we're not counting on any revenue from that program. No longer something that he's been trying to initiate here.
I don't think it had any expenses this year either, did it?
Not specific to that, no.
Right.
Anything else, guys? Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Move on to item 4J, pre-65 healthcare.
I think you guys all know Greg Sermon, who was at our study session last week.
Good morning.
He's here for our committee and will be also next Tuesday night.
Yes.
If you have any questions, you have anything you wanted to present, or?
No, I'm happy to resurrect the presentation from last week if you'd like the slide deck. If we want to reference any of those pages specifically, otherwise I'm just here to take questions.
Sure, thank you.
Questions?
So
Commissioner Elwell.
nothing has changed in the proposal so far, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and just to hit the high points of it, on the pre-65 retiree, if we were to retain what we have right now, it's going to be next year at a $501,000 increase, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rice.
This actually would be for the administrator. I know some of us have received some emails and stuff from the pre-65 employees. Overall, what kind of feedback or what are you hearing?
Actually, I've not heard from any of them, anyone. None of them have contacted me. And I think, frankly, because once they go through and look at it, of the 166 pre-65s, 124 are more or less on this plan already. And there's only a few who have, a much more substantial change from what they're accustomed, where they have a $3 drug card, and, obviously that's not going to be. But by and large, no, not by and large, I haven't had any contact me directly. I know other commissioners have had contact here and there with pre-65s and should have shared some of that information with me, but otherwise, no.
Commissioner Elwell.
I guess I'll give my thoughts on it for just a minute. I'm appreciative of the fact that we've been able to talk about this before voting on it, to let the people impacted by it at least the opportunity to come here and voice their opinion on it. And, I agree with the numbers. And I think most of you know that for the longest time, I have been supportive of not making any changes. But when it's at the point where it's $500,000 to retain what we have, you have to look at the budget and think, what are we going to cut if we want to do that? And there just is no way to maintain the current budget. I also can't see us continuing the current coverage at that kind of cost to the point of bankrupting the county, and then we can't provide any kind of health care to our employees. And I don't want to follow the footsteps of what Detroit did, which was to go bankrupt, terminate all service, and I think they gave, a couple $100 to each employee to go find their own insurance. I don't like changing benefits to retirees, but looking at the numbers, I've looked at them and agreed there's 124 in the one plan that's very close to this. It's still a change, but we have to, I think, act in a way that maintains our county finances so that we continue to provide what health care we can. And, we can all have our opinions on Obamacare and what it's done to the cost of health care. I've got my opinions on it, but we're doing the best we can, and I'm supportive of being cognizant of the county's finances to be able to still provide insurance and looking to minimize the impact on the retirees that we can. So that's why I'll be voting the way I do. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Well, I'd like to echo pretty much all the same things. It appears that we're choosing the only fiscally responsible action that we can take to provide, and, you know, we're still providing a high level of health care coverage, and we're keeping ourselves in position to continue to provide this benefit that we promised to people. Otherwise, if we don't do this, I think we're going to end up in a financial bind and financial crunch where it may have to be an option at some time in the future to take the Detroit approach, and I don't like that. So, yes, I'm going to be supporting this. I've heard from two people is all, explained our position. They really do understand. They might be somewhat disappointed, but they really understand, I think, for the most part, and I think a lot of this is because of the fact that our administration has sent out letters to everybody. They don't seem to think that we've tried to sneak it through. We announced it, and communication is good. Like I say, some couple ain't happy, but they realize why we are doing it. So we're going to be supporting this also. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, I need a motion to support. Send this to the full board. We have motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you all.
Item 4K, IT policies. Michael?
See our IT director approaching. Come on up there, Don. Interesting policy and acceptable use policy. I know I've commented a few times internally on that. I'm like, what kind of name is that? But anyway, Don, please take it away.
Thank you. This represents an update to an existing policy. It originally was called the Internet Use Policy. Since the original policy was authored, technology has moved forward. We've had a number of new devices and capabilities that have come on board. And this proposed update is intended to cover not only the new technologies and new devices that have come in, but also to represent what is considered to be a best-of-breed practice. We, as a county, are subject to external audits, and we have questions from organizations such as MMRMA. We're also going to have an external cybersecurity audit for FOC, possibly one coming up for the prosecuting attorney as well. And one of the things that they look at when they do these audits is to look at what policies are in place within the organization to control the use of the technology that is in place. So basically this policy expands from just a discussion of what is acceptable, i.e. just surfing the internet. It now talks about use of workstations and talks about the fact that there are other devices that are available now and expands the coverage of the policy.
Discussion, questions? We have a motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. We go into the full board. Thank you for your explanation.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5. Item 5A is the claims. Everybody's looked at them and signed off. Okay. Got motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. I don't see any other minutes listed. No reporting schedule for November. We return to public comment on item 6. No public comment. And commissioner comment? Oh, okay. Thank you. Need your name and address? His name?
My name is Tom. I understand I have 3 minutes to try to explain why you shouldn't change the retirement and health benefits. even though you just voted to do that. But I'll at least be able to say I had my input there. I was here for the last meeting when other retirees did speak and address the commission or the board. I guess I do want to put one thing out there right at the start of this. Just a quick reminder, because sometimes in your position, I'm sure it's hard to remember that, or for you, it's easy to forget, maybe is a better way to say that. You do work for us. About 160,000 people in this county that you work for, so just in case you lost track of that. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is talk about the presentation that was made. I do have a copy of it. I looked it over. I listened to the presentation when it was done. I tried to be as fair as I could with impartiality. And looking at that, before I got to that point, what I did do is go back and look at my own contract that I had with the county before I left. I was required, in fact, to sign a document that says, and I quote, "Plan changes are subject to Blue Cross Blue Shield guidelines." I'm not sure this would qualify as a Blue Cross Blue Shield guideline, but we'll perhaps have to find that out. One of the things that all of the negotiating committees within the county that I'm aware of have to do, I'm hoping that started at 3 minutes and not 2 like it did the other day, but anyways, is they had to go through an agreement with the county. The county picked 2 or 3 actuarials. We had to pick from their list. The county would pay for that service, or excuse me, the county would authorize the service to be done. On at least 2 occasions that I negotiated, that actuarial was done, and the actuarial company actually said they doubled the cost to ensure they had enough money. And the employees agreed to pay it. So we've already paid for this. This isn't an entitlement. It isn't one of those government games that we're playing. We gave up pay raises, or we actually paid money out of pocket, out of payroll, to pay for this benefit so that we could leave. The county benefited, obviously, by the DROP program. They continue to do that. So this is something that was paid for. It was a contractual agreement, and it was a binding agreement by word. So hopefully your word will mean something. And the numbers, the last thing I'll do here, the numbers, when I looked at this, one of the things that jumped off of me as a glaring question is the real difference in year 1 is $123,000. The big difference that they cite is $620,000 difference between their program and Blue Cross Blue Shield's program. I'm just curious if anybody even asked Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's 620,000 good reasons to ask the question.
Tom, your time is up.
Thank you.
And for the record, we gave you 3 minutes rather than just the 2.
I'm sorry if that.
We put you on the 3-minute clock rather than the 2. Policy calls for 2, so we gave you an extra minute to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your transparency.
Any more public comment? Committee member comments? Meeting's adjourned.